So, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Louise Kneebone. I'm a Regulatory Affairs Manager, and I've been working at Pharmalex for 9 years. My topic for this session is how do Pharmalex support newly appointed consultants if they aren't experienced? Or how do you go from getting the job to doing a good job? I'm going to start by telling you a little about Pharmalex and the services that we provide, but also what this actually means if you're new to the industry. I have a friend who's thinking about career change as she's on her maternity leave. And when I told her I was going to be delivering this presentation, she said that if she was a delegate, she would want to ask, what is it that you actually do? So I hope that I'll be able to answer that question in this presentation today. I'll tell you about how Pharmalex makes sure that we take you from getting the job to doing the good job in the best possible way with our global regulatory affairs learning academy. And then if you've got questions, I'll be delighted to answer them at the end. So I'm going to be discussing career opportunities in regulatory affairs and our specific training here at Pharmalex. So this, for anybody who's interested, is Kynance Cove down on the Lizard down in Cornwall. Some people get into regulatory affairs straight out of university, but for others, it's a sideways career change, either out of the lab or a manufacturing facility, out of the pharmacy, or even out of practicing medicine. So the first thing to say is that career change leads to new opportunities. Prior to this, I was a senior scientist at Lonza Biologics, and I was working to develop processes to purify antibodies. And then when my son was born, I had to relocate to Cornwall to be nearer to my parents. And as such, I had to do a complete career change because, as you can see, there are no labs on the beach. Pharmalex is a global company with a local presence, and I was so delighted that the Cornwall office was taking on new starters when I finished my maternity leave. Whether you're fresh out of university or looking to utilise your scientific knowledge in a new area, regulatory affairs is an exceptional career. And if you do decide to pursue a career with Pharmalex, one of my colleagues literally lives walking distance away from this beach. We've got two offices in Hertfordshire, and our Bourne End office to the west of London is walking distance from the Thames. But in fact, we have offices all over the world. I'm going to focus on the UK in this presentation, but do look at the Pharmalex website for international opportunities. Even in this time of uncertainty with the pandemic, we've got a really strong pipeline and an amazing portfolio of clients, and we are continuing to recruit even throughout all the lockdowns that are going on. So, Pharmalex in numbers. This infographic is just a few quick facts about Pharmalex. We have over 1,000 subject matter experts worldwide, and this is up from 850 last year. So this is an indication of how strongly we're growing as a company. We have over 25 years of industry experience, and in fact, Pharmalex was founded the year before the establishment of the European Medicines Agency, so we got in right on the ground floor. We have 40 nationalities working at Pharmalex, and in our Cornwall office alone, I have colleagues from France, Syria, the United States, the Netherlands, Greece, Nepal, and even far-flung locations like Plymouth or Manchester. We're a local team based in Cornwall, but we've got really close ties to the rest of the UK team, and we work internationally. 50% of our projects are global, and over the years, I personally have worked on renewals in French West Africa, source transfers in Asia Pacific, tablet coating changes in Russia, patient information updates in Germany, and my current project, I'm doing a marketing authorization name change for 1,700 licenses in over 60 countries. So it's such a broad reach that we have. This is a really dense slide. Don't worry, I'm not going to read through it all. I've just provided it as an illustration of the diverse technical areas of expertise we have within Pharmalex. Our global teams can take companies through really early strategic planning activities and non-clinical requirements through clinical development, regulatory affairs submissions, and then finally we guide products to market approval and product maintenance post-launch activities, and that's where I work. And I'm going to focus on regulatory affairs in this webinar. Okay, so what does this actually mean if somebody's new to regulatory affairs? Well, you can have the best product in existence. You can develop a new treatment for cancer, you can have the new best blockbuster biomedicine, or you could just have developed a better indigestion tablet. But unless you've got your product properly approved and then you maintain your license, you cannot give it to patients. So let's look at some practical examples. Say you want to change the shape of your tablet to make it easier to swallow. Well, you need regulatory affairs to submit a variation to your marketing authorization to register this change. Well, Now you need to move to a larger manufacturing facility because in changing the shape of your tablet, it's now wildly successful and you need to scale up your manufacturing capabilities. So you need regulatory affairs to submit a variation again. Do you now need a new active pharmaceutical ingredient supplier because the demand for your product is so high? That's another variation to submit. Has your product been on the market for 5 years? Well, now your license is about to expire and you need a renewal. But renewals have to be submitted 9 months prior to expiry. So I hope that you've got a very organised person to keep an eye on your timelines. And in fact, you do because you have a regulatory affairs department. Um, are the requirements for your product in Asia Pacific markets different? What about the FDA? What about Australia? What about the CIS region? Do you, in fact, know what the markets are in the CIS region? This is the Commonwealth of Independent States, for those who don't know. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Moldova, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. I'm working with all of these markets at the moment, and they all have different variation requirements. All of this falls under Reg Intelligence, and you can rely on support from your Reg Affairs department to answer all of these questions. Let's take a step back. Right at the beginning, if you were registering in Europe, which markets did you want to register your product in? Did you want to submit your application in all markets at the same time, or do you want to have a staggered approach? This forms part of your regulatory strategy. Is your product now so successful that you're going into mergers and acquisitions? That's also regulatory affairs to support this. And then once you've merged, you're then going to need more variations to submit in more markets as you grow. That's a very short description of the kind of work that we do. But as you can see, it's fascinating. It's so diverse. It's the backbone of a pharmaceutical company. And if you're working in Reg Affairs, you can feel confident that you're contributing to the safe use of medicines worldwide. Okay, so how do you suddenly become an expert in everything I just described? That's a huge, huge area of knowledge. Pharmalex invests really heavily in training and continued professional development. So that's known as CPD. We also have LLL, or Lifelong Learning. You should be advised right now, we love an acronym in regulatory affairs, so you better get used to it early. Regulatory affairs professionals need to keep abreast of changes to regulations, and we're constantly improving knowledge and expertise. New starters in the UK are provided with a comprehensive technical induction package, and it's been developed over the years and fully updated during lockdown in 2020. This technical induction package has been specifically designed for new entrants into the field of Reg Affairs. Its aim is to provide a clear and concise working understanding of the basics of Reg Affairs so that we get our new starters up and running really quickly. The technical induction training is divided into 3 stages, and each stage combines background information with practical training. New recruits work through these modules in their own time, and they have support from their manager or a buddy, and increasingly we have mentors in the office as well. Each stage has resources to help you through the training, including a toolbox of web links and references. We have self-test questions, and we also have quizzes to assess your progress and, more importantly, to highlight areas of improvement. Following completion of the induction package, new starters then get access to our SOPs to be signed off, and then access to our user guides and our internal InnerFlex and Smart SourceFlex systems. For many standard regulatory affairs processes, we've got really detailed guidelines and templates for use. So from the very first project, new starters are able to produce really high quality work that fits seamlessly into submissions. In addition, we have a peer review process. So each piece of work is reviewed by another member of the team before it goes out. Pharmalex, we really pride ourselves on right first time. And so we can deliver this, any minor errors are picked up in-house and they're corrected at peer review stage rather than with the clients or at the agencies. It also means that new starters can feel really confident that their understanding and execution of each piece of work is correct. As part of the training, we also give new starters a series of scenarios, and then they can produce a mock submission package for this. So these include simple exercises like a patient information update, right through to more challenging scenarios to really test the understanding and training that they've received so far. I've just finished peer reviewing the training scenarios from our most recent starters, and it's such a worthwhile exercise. There's nothing that reinforces learning better than having a go, first principles, and then having any errors or misunderstandings corrected and then explained by a more experienced member of the team. And it really reaps solid rewards around the line because all your peer review feedback and all the examples you prepared are then available for you to refer to in your further work. We then have a whole separate package of technical submission training. We have training on the EAF, so electronic application form. We have a user guide for submissions and also how to deal with the resulting responses from the agencies. We cover CESP, which is the Common European Submissions Portal, and the MHRA and VMD Submissions Portal. MHRA, I'm sure you've heard of. VMD is the Veterinary Medicines Directive. To make all these submissions possible, we have detailed user guides on how to publish sequences. Finally, we'll then have a package of client-specific training that depends on where you're going to be working. We work really closely with our clients, and in many cases, we're fully embedded into our client systems. So on my desk in my dining room at home, I now have 3 laptops. So one's provided by Pharmalex for my day-to-day work, and then I have 2 separate client laptops so I can work directly in their systems. New for 2021 is our Regulatory Affairs Pharmalex Academy. Loads of work has gone into this and everybody's really proud of it. Where the UK induction package is focused on EU reg affairs, this is an international training package that's been pulled together by Pharmalex experts worldwide, and it offers both basic and advanced training. So very similar to the UK, for junior employees, the basic programme provides all the essential training and knowledge required to work in regulatory affairs when you start out. But for the benefit and continued professional development of employees with more experience, there's an advanced training package. And this is to help increase knowledge in really specific regulatory areas, such as veterinary regs or generics or biologics. A classic example of this is the pandemic. So we now have an advanced training package module on emergency use vaccine development. The training at Pharmalex is constantly evolving, and it's just a brilliant resource for everybody. Continued professional development is embedded in our culture here. In addition to specific reg affairs training, we have regular company-wide webinars, which give an overview of other departments and what external or internal services Pharmalex is offering. And then throughout your career, there's also on-the-job training as you're exposed to new aspects of regulatory affairs. We regularly share learnings from projects we've been working on, and we have after-action reviews, and we also share learnings of courses we've attended. Finally, there's a generous individual training budget for external courses. And that has continued right the way through the pandemic and lockdowns and home working. It just means that all our training is now given remotely. So to support your development at Pharmalex, we're aware that you have to have a really holistic approach, and work-life balance is respected and encouraged. We have the opportunity for flexible working hours and to work from home. I've always worked part-time. I now have 3 children, and each time that my personal circumstances have changed, I've fitted my working patterns around them. So when my son went to school, I increased my hours, and then when my daughter was born, I reduced them back down again. And now that she's going back to school, I'm now working 4 days a week, and as I'm at home, I do it around the school run. There's real trust in employees that we deliver even if we're from home rather than in the office. It's really nice it's just a lovely working environment. Right now, we're all working from home for the foreseeable future, but communication with the colleagues really has been unaffected. We've got team building activities remotely and wellness program initiatives in place. And these measures, they all support employees to deliver the best work that we can to our clients. Okay, so here's some testimonials. Most companies have them. These ones I've just taken from our website, and I would agree with everything that they say. But I wanted to share one with you from our most recent new starter. He's a fresh graduate and new into the industry. We really appreciate that it's hard to start a new role remotely without being in the office where you can just, catch somebody's eye and ask for help. His words in his testimonial demonstrate that the Pharmalex training package, it's robust, it's deliverable even during a global crisis, and that peer-to-peer support is always available. So he said, during my first 10 weeks at Pharmalex, I've been introduced virtually to everybody in the office, and I've been able to really get to know people through catch-up meetings. The support has been excellent during the training process. Whenever I'm unsure, help is only a Teams message away. The staff at Pharmalex have clearly adapted very well to working from home, which is reflected in the delivery of the training and in general communication during the induction period. We're really happy that we can support all of our new starters. So recruitment. As a global organisation, we take the approach that location isn't always critical and the right person with the right skills and competencies is our priority. We have in fact recruited 7 people in the UK since the beginning of lockdown in 2020, and we are actively recruiting now. This is an excerpt from our website. The address is shown on the slide, but you don't need to frantically write it down. You just have to type Pharmalex Careers into Google and it will take you straight where you need to be. As you can see, we're mostly recruiting for manager level positions, but at the bottom it says there's a vacancy for a specialist. This is what we call our new graduates when we're recruited. And I have been contacted this morning to say that although there's only one vacancy showing on the website, there in fact are two positions we're actively recruiting for a specialist at the moment in the UK, and that it's very likely that recruitment will continue all year. As I say, our robust pipeline means that we need people. It's fantastic. So Pharmalex is great. All the job descriptions for all of these positions are available on the website. You can apply directly with a cover letter and a CV, and you can also sign up for updates on the careers page. And this will ensure that you're notified when new positions are posted. So I hope I've given you a taste of the sort of work that we do at Pharmalex and how we take you from getting the job to doing a good job. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. There are indeed a couple of questions.
Yep, no problem.
Can you discuss a little bit more about some of the projects you've been working on in general, I suppose?
Yeah, so I mean, we are employed to do a huge range of things. So in some cases, we work as the local affiliate for the UK. So we basically are the regulatory department for a company in the UK. So we are provided with all the information about variations that need to happen, and then we prepare the submission dossiers, we do the publishing, and we submit. And then we're involved in all the back and forth communication with the regulatory agencies. I'm currently working and leading a 7-person team internationally for a German client. So I have members of my team in the UK, Georgia, Bulgaria, Paris, and Germany, and we're supporting a very large German client, and we basically are supporting a lot of the post-Brexit activities. And we're also doing their marketing authorization name change submissions. Sometimes we're brought in just to complete one small piece of work, but it requires, so like a lot of administrative work, we can take that away from a regulatory team. And sometimes we run enormous international projects. So one of our clients at the moment is asking us to set up a essentially a pharmaceutical company from scratch. They've bought a license to a product and they now need us to source where it will be manufactured, who we will submit to, where we will register, and we're doing everything. So yeah, it's really diverse work and it's fascinating. As I say, I've been there for 9 years and I have never been on the same project twice.
Okay. Do you have a graduate scheme, or is it entry-level roles as and when they're advertised? But I suppose they're advertised right now. So do you have
Yeah,
a
so
scheme?
there are, yeah, so for fresh graduates, you can apply for our specialist roles and you'll get training in the UK induction package and access to the Pharmalex Academy. It's not a specific graduate scheme in that you, I don't know, if you were working in a supermarket, they've put you in, you know, this department, then this department, then this department in strict rotation. It really does depend on what clients and what projects we have available at the time. But certainly you get full training and there's great career progression through in Pharmalex.
Okay. As many pharma companies have in-house regulatory teams, can you provide some examples of the types of clients you work with?
I mean, we work with everybody. Unfortunately, I can't list off all of our clients at the moment because it's confidential, but we work with everybody from very small startups right the way through to large multinationals. I understand what you're saying in that most companies have their own regulatory affairs departments, but in addition, most companies need extra help. Regulatory affairs can be time consuming. For example, this marketing authorization name change that I'm doing, it's 1,700 licenses in 60 countries. So just to make one change, that's a colossal amount of work. We started working on it in January and it won't be finished until the end of next year probably. And so we can take this individual project out. It means that all the usual run-of-the-mill reg work will be done by the pharmaceutical company's team, and we take out these separate large projects. But again, sometimes we'll just be working directly with a team at a pharmaceutical company and we'll have the responsibility for a portfolio of products.
Okay. Do you accept non-UK applicants for the UK positions?
I would email our HR department or look at the careers website. As I said, we have lots of international people working at Pharmalex, but all of them started pre-Brexit. So I'm not sure quite how it goes now in terms of work permits and things like that. But we do have offices internationally. I mean, we had a colleague who was from France who started working in the UK, and she's now transferred over to the Paris office. So there's certainly scope for international recruitment, and we are recruiting internationally. On the website, you can search what areas you want to apply for, and then you can see the vacancies in each different country.
Okay. So that kind of answers the next question, because they ask, do you choose which branch you work at location-wise, or is this predetermined by the job description?
No, so at the moment we have 4 UK offices, and we also have offices in Ireland, and we're an international company, so if a project comes into Cornwall but it needs to be resourced out of Tring, then the person in Tring will get the project. So if you live in Hertfordshire, you would apply for one of our Hertfordshire offices, and if you want to come and move to Cornwall, come and apply for our Cornwall office.
Yeah. And how do you get into the Pharmalex Academy?
So it is when you get your job, it will be Pharmalex Academy modules will be assigned to you. So it isn't necessarily a separate thing that you register for. It is part of our new graduate training package.
Okay. And as a university student, when would be the best time to start applying?
Whenever you want to start working. So if you have exams to sit, I don't know, I believe that exams are kind of happening now, I imagine. So if you knew that you were going to be available from the beginning of the summer, then you would start applying for jobs now. As I say, we do have 2 vacancies at the moment, and it is very likely that we'll be hiring throughout the year. We have strong candidates who apply, so I would apply as soon as you can. We often have people who apply, and if they're not currently working for a position, so if they're university graduates, they can start, weeks after their interview.
Okay. And somebody asks if you can say something about salary expectations in the specialist role. It says to include salary expectations, but what would be the range for an MSc graduate who has no experience in regulatory?
Yeah, that's really difficult, because the thing with salary expectations is it does very much depend on what work you've done previously. I am not able to give you salary
Mm,
expectations right now
mm.
because it's all quite specific. But I think that if you I don't know what the best answer is, actually, I'm afraid. I think that if you've come from a company already, you'll know what the salary expectations are. And for a fresh graduate, I honestly don't know what the best advice is, actually. Have to apply for. No, I don't know. I don't know what I would put. It was it was a long time since I applied,
Sure,
and I already
sure.
had previously experience, so I can't think. I'm afraid. Sorry, that's not very helpful.
Okay. Actually, I'm going through the questions in order, but there's a question later on that links to this. Did you yourself apply for a graduate role or higher
So
when you
I
started?
came in at a higher role than a specialist because I had 9 years experience in a manufacturing facility. So if you've got previous experience in a relevant role, so if you're a pharmacist, if you're a doctor, if you work in a manufacturing facility, if you're from QA or any of those areas, these are really transferable skills. So you can go in at a higher level. The specialist level is for people very new to the industry, or you would go in as a specialist if you have relevant experience but no specific reg affairs, and then I imagine that you'd move up to senior specialist quickly.
Okay. And what would you say are the main challenges in your role?
You need a very keen eye for detail. You need to be meticulous and organized and have very good time management. You need to be responsive to clients. You need to have a real customer focus. The whole point of our job is to give great quality, high quality information that fulfills our clients' needs. So you just need to make sure that you are very diligent in your work.
Okay. And in terms of working from home, uh, would that also apply for new people coming in?
Yeah, so at the moment we only have 2 people in our office, and that's because for their particular childcare arrangements, that is what works best for them. We only really opened up the country as of 2 days ago, so it's still very
Mm.
new in terms of what's going to happen post pandemic. If there ever will be a time post pandemic, we're still not sure. So at the moment, all our new starters are working exclusively from home. I don't think that will continue forever, but we're certainly looking at a more hybrid model with some days in the office and some days at home.
Sure.
However, I don't know if you were in Scotland, for example, and you wanted to apply, if they would take completely home working applications where you wouldn't be able to get into the office, yeah, very easily 1 day a week. But that's certainly a question for our HR. Everybody, this is a great time to ask that sort of question because the entire sort of paradigm for working has been turned on its head in the last year. I haven't been into my office since last March, and we're all very used to it. So we'll see how it goes as we move on.
Yeah, yeah. Would you take on someone with regulatory affairs experience in medical devices?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a medical devices team, and that's really great, relevant experience.
Okay. Um, and also, is there any scope to move into regulatory affairs after a career in community pharmacy?
Yeah, no, one of our most recent graduates has come directly from a pharmacy, and yeah, that's a great sideways move.
Okay. And kind of a similar question, what level of a role would you recommend for a person who has basic knowledge of regulatory affairs and moving from clinical research experience?
That sounds like that's a senior specialist position. But then obviously, if you can demonstrate that your regulatory affairs knowledge and skill set is good, then you could be looking for sort of promotion and review into manager level. It honestly depends on the level of experience.
Yeah. Um, and then again, for the regulatory specialist role, do you actually need any regulatory affairs experience?
No, you can come in straight from university. All you need for a specialist role is a relevant scientific degree. So, I can't even begin to reel them off. Biochemistry, biomedical science, pharmacy,
Mhm.
any of these degrees are a really good role into regulatory affairs.
Yeah, okay. That's at the moment this is the final question, but there might be some coming in. What should we expect at the interview?
So we normally have an interview panel, so 2 or 3 people. Previously, this would have been on site, but now it's via Teams. You usually have to prepare a presentation, so you'll be given a title. For the life of me, I can't remember what my presentation was because it was nearly a decade ago, but something that you can reasonably find out about in that's already out sort of in the world, but it's more to demonstrate kind of an interest in regulatory affairs, your sort of personal skills. So much of our work is communication with clients. So are you good at presenting? Are you good at taking information and presenting it in a good manner? And are you personable to work with? So really it's a normal interview.
Sure. Um, okay, this is an interesting question. Do you think a non-experienced candidate with MSc degree or experienced candidate with BSc is more preferable?
It completely depends on what the experience is. We do get a lot of applicants with masters and PhDs, and we also get people in who have reg experience. It honestly depends. What I would say is that if you have industrial experience already, there's no need to get more qualifications to get a job at Pharmalex. But it would completely depend on everybody's personal experience as to whether the BSc with experience is better than a non-experienced MSc.
Sure. Okay, the final two questions. How would you say would candidates stand out in interviews?
Exactly that. So demonstrate that you have got a keen eye for detail, that you have rigorous working techniques, that you are, there's all the standard things. I work well independently, but also as part of a team. Anything that's going to anything that will be good in any interview will be good for a Pharmalex interview. It's just to see if you're a good fit for the company in terms of your skills, your experience, and yeah, and how well you can
Yeah,
put yourself
sure.
across.
Sure, yeah. And then the final question, how would you say can you improve your CV for entry-level roles if you have no previous experience? So should you focus on soft skills or industrial experience or both, or how would you do it?
Improving a CV. It depends on, I think the main thing to do is to highlight your qualities. So if you've got no previous regulatory affairs experience, but you can say, I've used to work for a manufacturing facility and I have in-depth knowledge of GMP requirements, or I used to work in a quality role, so I'm very good at auditing and I've got a very keen eye for detail, and lots of sort of highlighting of transferable skills and soft skills like teamwork and leadership and things like that.
Yeah, okay, very good. So I guess that's all we have time for. So thank you very much, very insightful. I hope everybody thought that was useful. I have no doubt. I thought it useful. So thank you again for joining us today. We go into a short break until I think it's 2:15. See, no, it's 2:05 when we come back. When we go and have a talk from FarmingWeb. So we'll see you back shortly.
Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Louise. Thank you very much.